All right, it's that time again. Time to wish you a happy Friday for the Pat's Interference Podcast, member of the jocular, judicious, and jam-packed CLNS Media Network. It is just before 11 a.m. on Friday, September 12th. We got Doug Kyed on the show today, people's favorite guest, to preview Pat's Dolphins on Sunday. Nate Tice, who I teased earlier this week, had a scheduling conflict, so we're hoping to get Nate on the show for his debut a little bit later on. If you're that excited to hear from him, he was on Mina Khan's show this week. So anyway, excited for that to happen whenever we do get rolling. Now, just like last week, we're going to start this game preview episode, which will always be out either late Thursdays or midday Fridays with a six-pack, okay? I used to call it housekeeping, but no one really wants to hear the housekeeping. You're probably just hitting fast forward to get to the preview content stuff. But we have some smaller items to take care of today, starting with number one. Got a column up this morning at the Herald. And if profanity was allowed in the headline, let me tell you, there would have been a big, giant F word in the headline between stop and panicking, okay, about the Patriots in week 2. Now, let's get some facts straight and right out of the way. It is bad the Patriots are 0-1. They disappointed me on Sunday. They disappointed you, I'm sure, if you're listening to this podcast, and root for them on Sundays. It will be very bad if they are 0-2, especially for someone who, like myself, expected them to go to the playoffs. Drake May has underwhelmed. Mike Vrabel's coaching staff did not cover itself in glory against the Raiders. If you lose down in Miami, where the Patriots always lose, but now the Dolphins are a disaster. Like, this is a grenade where the pin has already been pulled and we're just waiting now for when it'll explode. It'll be bad. But even if they fall to 0-2, this does not mean they lost a must-win game, because there are no must-win games in the NFL in September, or let me tell you, even before Columbus Day, okay? We know nothing in the league after 1 week. Nothing after 2. And might I remind you, we waited 8 long months for this. So if you are inclined to panic or to freak out about a start, and again, a bad start, don't get me twisted on that. This has been bad, disappointing, okay? You want to jump ship now and go back into the world of predictions and projections and all the stuff that we fill our minds and airwaves with from January to August? No, personally, I prefer the football. So if you still need a little bit of comfort, let me offer you this, okay? The Eagles last year started 2-2. Mike Vrabel's lone AFC Championship team in Tennessee started 1-4. The Patriots' last Super Bowl team started 1-2, thanks to, of all teams, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Detroit Lions, led by then Matt Patricia back in 2018. Okay? Now, it should go without saying, but I'll do it anyway. Obviously, these Patriots are not those Patriots. They are not the Eagles, and they are not those Titans. But we love the NFL for how unpredictable it is. Okay? Extrapolating anything from this time of the year, as evidenced by those teams and those records and how they finished the year, is a fool's errand. This is an extension of the preseason. So let yourself be surprised down the line if things start badly, or find a way to sit in it now, because they're going to play 15 more games after Sunday, and I'm going to bet you they're still going to win more of those games than they will. And by the way, Miami, as big of a dumpster fire as they are, they lost 30-8 to the Colts. Okay, we all saw it. We're like, kind of jarring. Probably the most shocking result of week 1, even if you think the Dolphins stink. And I have been hand raised. They're going to have a new GM and a head coach by February. What happens in week 2 is things that go up typically come down, and the teams that are down typically rise up, especially when they get to go home. So I think they will put up a good battle. I'm not going to tell you my pick right now. We have that with Doug. But just keep that in mind. This is a toss-up game for a reason. And sometimes when you call heads and you flip 2 coins, as the Patriots had another toss-up game last weekend, it comes up tails, and you do it again, and it'll come up tails. That's just how this goes. Good thing is, Patriots have 15 more times to flip that coin later this season. Number 2, here's the injury report. Christian Gonzalez, still no show. Not great. We're past 6.5 weeks now that he has not practiced. I would be doubtful that he plays against the Steelers next week at this point, because of how long he's been off with this hamstring issue. I'll reiterate what I've said at some point on this podcast. I have no reason to believe, no evidence. There is zero evidence to suggest this is a contract-related issue. He's not even eligible for an extension. They're not talking yet about that because they can't. There's nothing and nowhere to go. He has a hamstring injury, and it certainly seems like he had a setback, which sucks, okay? Everyone wants to watch him play football. He wants to play football. Another guy who might not play football this week, Keon White, got an illness. Good news is Harold Landry and Morgan Moses, who missed practice on Wednesday, should be back. They practice Thursday. We'll see what Mike Vrabel says here today, which is a very nice change for us, by the way, in the media about hearing from a coach after Friday practice when he can tell you, yeah, so-and-so is going to play, so-and-so is questionable. This is what we saw. Number 3, speaking of Harold Landry, He's on the show today. He's part of the 4-minute drill, which is a weekly staple of our in-season episodes. We sit with a player. We have a chat about football and non-football questions. Keep the clock rolling once the clock's up. So is the interview. And this is just a fun way to kind of end every week on a little bit of a lighter note. Harold was very thoughtful with his answers, so I ended up having 8 leftover questions for him, but maybe we'll have him back. We'll see. Number 4, another staple this year, Mike Giardi Mondays. Okay, we went live this past Monday night, started at 8:30. I thought it went really well. We went for almost an hour and a half, breaking down all the film. Patriots, Raiders, talked about May, talked about Vrabel, talked about Josh McDaniels, Trayvon Henderson, this and that. You can tune in every single Monday this season and get more of that in case you missed this week's show. It's live on YouTube. We also extend it to live on X. You will find this everywhere, and specifically at my YouTube channel and the Patriots Press Pass channel, which you subscribe to as well. But it's all of our notes, all of our stats, all the nuggets, observations, everything. There might be a tweak upcoming where we move this up to 8, but for now, this week, it'll be 8:30. Come hang out with us on Monday night. Speaking of YouTube, item number 5, subscribe to the channel, okay? @_Andrew Callahan. All of these episodes, smaller videos, breakdowns, whatever you want, you will find it all there. And of course, again, as I just said, the Patriots Press Pass channel run by CLNS. If you are listening on Apple or Spotify, however, you don't want to subscribe to YouTube. That's fine. I don't get how people watch podcasts on YouTube, but we thank you for doing that. If you listen on Apple or Spotify, please rate and review. I am happy to report we have been continuing to grow as a show, but every rating and every review counts. So please take a second. Let us know what you think. And if you'd rather do so in the long form, go ahead. @Callahan@bostonherald.com. You can write me anytime. The last item here today is I ask you to support us or support the people that support us. Number 1 is Prize Picks, which is also America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right, that can get you paid. So don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. And if daily fantasy sounds like a turnoff, or you're more just into fantasy football or just numbers or winning, whatever, this will work for you, because all you do at Prize Picks is pick players and stats, and somewhere between 2 to 6 players, and that's it. That constitutes a lineup. And you go more than or less than whatever the stat is. It could be touchdowns, it could be yards, it could be carries, receptions, targets, whatever it might be, because this is truly the best place to win cash while watching sports. For example, do you think Drake May is going to throw a touchdown pass in Miami? Okay, because right now you can pick, as we're about to do here on the show, more than half a touchdown pass for Drake May. Boom. That is one player in your lineup. All you need is one more. Here's another one. Devon Achane, more than 3.5 receptions. I think the Dolphins are going to try to throw against the Patriots linebackers and their safeties. And Achane, with one of the fastest players in the league, is going to get the ball. That's a lineup. That's how easy Prize Picks is. So you can take the Pats interference, Prize Picks, picks of the week. You can make your own, whatever you want to do. And it doesn't even have to be football. But download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups, where all you do is pick the players and more or less on the stats that you see on that page. And you get those $50 after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Okay, here comes Doug Kyed. Here comes Harold Landry. We will see you next for another Mike Giardi Monday after Pats Dolphins on Sunday. Okay, here to brighten my Friday and yours, a guy who sees plenty of my face, but still continues to come on the pod, the people's favorite guest. Doug, how we doing?
Doing all right. How you doing?
Good. I'm ready for some football. I said this to you, I think Wednesday, which is never a good sign for the week.
I think I said the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. There's just the post freak out week 1, which I've already talked about, and just no sense of being rational or reasonable. And I get it. Like, we waited this long for football, and you think the first thing we see is going to be so important. And history says, nah, man, we don't know anything until like mid-October, but we will get more football soon. I want to start, simple question. We do this every week now. What is this game about for the Patriots when they go down to Miami on Sunday?
I think it's proving that they're better than they were last year, which we don't really know based on week 1. And obviously this is a tough test to do that because the Patriots historically do struggle in Miami. I mean, I looked it up this week. I know that like the stats are out there, but I started covering this team in 2013. I've only seen 2 wins in Miami since I started on the beat, which is just absolutely wild. So, I mean, the Patriots could absolutely come out and struggle and look terrible in this game and still wind up being good, but you'd feel a lot better about this team if they actually looked improved from week 1 and improved from 2024, which we haven't fully seen yet at this point.
Yes. I think for me, coming off of a week where the opener, I said this is about problem solving and identity, right? You talk about violent, you talk about having answers in Josh McDaniel's offense. Okay, go show it. We've talked about this in the spring and the summer. You ran into some problems. They have more problem solving to do. This to me is fixing the issues that came up against Vegas, where you had some defensively emotional blitzing that cost you, a touchdown and some big third downs. And then offensively, you couldn't run the ball. If you are able to fix your pressure on defense and you're able to run the ball in Miami, this sounds crazy given the stat that you just offered. I don't see how they lose. Now, those problems are so big for a variety of different reasons. It's not unconquerable, but the point is, like, that's what this game boils down to. Can you take the time during the week to fix those issues, understanding others could crop up? But that means controlling the trenches, and that means controlling the game. And it's exactly what they have to do here against the Dolphins team that doesn't really want to play all that physically.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think that is certainly possible in this game with some of the offensive line issues that the Dolphins have, just how bad in general that they looked against the Colts. But we also know that, yeah, the Dolphins looked really bad against the Colts. They had their, players only meeting this week and all that stuff. But we also know from last year, from the Patriots beating the Bengals, that some things in week one just truly don't matter in the grand scheme of things and that they don't carry over past week one. So this Dolphins team could wind up coming out looking a lot better. A lot of their issues could wind up being fixed in this game. But yeah, no, I think that, yeah, being more physical, controlling the line of scrimmage, certainly run blocking a lot better, committing to the run, not abandoning it. Those are all keys for the Patriots in this game.
I was trying to think of the equivalent for you and I if there was a players only meeting after 1 week of like working together, like our boss Bruce at the Herald. It's that kind of thing. We need to get in a room and hash out whatever's going on between you two, and it's like the middle of training camp.
Right? No, 100%. Yeah, no, it's very early, but I also think that I don't know. It could be a way to fix things. Obviously, like you look at it as a negative, but if they're really taking the initiative here and trying to work things out, that's probably a good sign overall for the team that they want to do this in general.
Yes. All right, Miami by the numbers. They are 0-1, just like the Patriots. According to the DVOA, which we will cite every week in the show, just to give you the big picture, where does this team fall within the rest of the league? You can find this at FDN Fantasy, our guy, friend of the show, Aaron Schatz. They're 31st, means right now they're the second worst team in the league statistically. Their offense, also 31st, second worst in the league. They're 18th in defense, 11th on special teams. The Patriots, not to be outdone, just 27th, 22nd in offense, 27th in defense, which I think is a little harsh, 28th on special teams. So let's start with the Patriots offense versus the Dolphins defense. I've written a lot about Drake May this week, have right after the game. Something seems like a little off with him. And the easiest, most common answer to the question I'm about to ask is just, well, the quarterback. But I say, where do you start with this matchup, Pat's offense versus Dolphins defense? Is there any other place?
No, it definitely starts with the quarterback, but I mean, I think it also starts with the run game too, just because they did abandon it so early, and the run game is obviously going to help the quarterback as well. And we can all sit there and assume that Drake May is going to be better in this game, but we don't know that for sure based on what we saw in week one. But I think that based on what we saw all throughout the summer and in the preseason, TreVeyon Henderson should be better moving forward as well. And obviously, he needs help from the offensive line. They need help from a lot of different, it's not just him, but he also looked like the type of player over the summer who could, thrive despite the things around him. So one big key for me in this game, beyond Drake May, and we'll talk about Drake May a lot, is just committing to TreVeyon Henderson, like getting him more than 20 snaps, giving him more than 10 touches, whatever it is. Because I understand trying to lean on Ramondre Stevenson early just because you know what to expect out of him. I just don't understand leaning on him as heavily as you did in week one.
Well, especially when the results were what they were. He had 46 snaps. I think it was, I know it was 15 yards total, 17 after contact, and however many rushes he had. He didn't break a single tackle. Henderson had the highest rate of touches per snaps. He had 11 and 25. So when he was on the field, basically 1 out of every 2 snaps, he's getting the ball. But he was the one that had the broken tackle with fewer snaps and fewer touches. So to me, tiny sample, blah, 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 blah. He's the most explosive player on the field. You 100%. Want to get that guy the ball. So I'm with you there. I do start, though, with Drake because I think even if they run the ball exceptionally well, this is an offense from a passing game standpoint that's built on, especially early in the game, easy throws. He has missed them in the preseason. He missed them in the opener in terms of just wide open throws, guys that he's not pulling the trigger on or sailing it over Demario Douglas. As I said, you could have had a second Demario Douglas on top of the regular one at 5'8", and he still might not have caught that ball against Vegas. Drake needs to settle in early because this game is about setting the terms of engagement to Miami. Hey, we are going to beat you up with the ground game. But as we do that, we're going to need to convert 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. Can Drake hit a stick route? Can he hit a slant? Can he get these little out routes and the timing and everything? Because he's just not settled in. The first quarter in this game, I think, is so massive. It's not like whoever wins the first quarter wins the game, but he needs to be better and calmer there, I think, in addition to running the ball, because Miami knows that's what they want to do too.
Yeah, no, 100%. And he just simply has to be better in general. Like, I don't know whether it is nerves at the beginning of the game, being too amped up. Simply, I like the weird thing about him and Douglas is that, like, they seem to have the biggest issues being on the same page. And last year, you would say with Jacoby Brissett, like, Jacoby Brissett was kind of like, kept making little comments about having to throw to smaller wide receivers. And I just don't think that should be a problem with Drake May. Like, him and Josh Downs connected with no problems at UNC. So I shout out to Pat's Chat, my podcast with Michael Hurley, but like 5'8" for Demario Douglas, that is like kind of the threshold for wide receivers. Like, there, and most like 5'8" wide receivers, there's only been, I think, one in NFL history with 1,000 yards in a season. So like, I'm not discounting the fact that it is difficult to throw to a 5'8" wide receiver. But in the grand scheme of things, like, Josh Downs is 5'9", Demario Douglas is 5'8". There shouldn't be a dramatic difference there, but it does feel like Drake May is always overthrowing Demario Douglas, and it might not just be a height factor. It might be that Demario Douglas isn't where Drake May is expecting him to be. Maybe Drake May is not throwing it where Demario Douglas is expected to be. But like, that definitely needs to get cleaned up because we've seen it way too much already this year. We saw it last year as well. So yeah, he has to be more accurate. He has to get on the same page as his wide receivers. And we also do have to figure out, like, Josh McDaniels yesterday was adamant that there's not too much on Drake May's plate, but we'll see moving forward if that's the case too, because Mike Vrabel at least entertained the possibility that there could be.
They said we have to evaluate that.
Yeah.
And maybe that was hey, we're evaluating everything after a loss like that, where there's no question that on both sides of the ball, they didn't play how they wanted to. I have to go back though, because now this is killing me. Who is the 5'8" receiver who set 1,000 yards?
I have to look it up. He was on the 1989. I'll have to look it up. But Cole Beasley is far and away the most productive 5'8" wide receiver in NFL history. He's had like multiple 900, 800 yard seasons or whatever. Wes Welker, since he's 5'8" and 6/8, is technically 5'9". Yeah. So like, but for 5'9" wide receivers, there's like Mark Clayton, there's Mark Duper, there's Wes Welker, there's all these guys. And for 5'8" wide receivers, like Demario Douglas, I believe, has the 17th and 21st most productive seasons by a 5'8" wide receiver in NFL history. So not to say it's like a thing, but there is a reason why you don't see like 5'7" wide receivers making the NFL, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But so, I will have that name for you in the next, let's call it 5 minutes.
Okay. It's interesting too, because when you get into Pop Douglas, and I want to get into the Patriots' problems, because there are some, even though there is just a Charmin soft Dolphin secondary to be picked on with old pal Jack Jones, and they've got two other corners, including Storm Duck, Drake May's old teammate, UNC. A real player, by the way, for anyone who just listened to me say Storm Duck and go, is that an actual person who plays football? Yes, it is.
It's not pranking
for Dolphins, but might not Sunday because he's hurt. Like, there is so much opportunity there, but it's dependent on, like you just said, chemistry, timing, everything that goes in the passing game, and the quarterback being settled down. Combining that point with the Henderson one, it's interesting to me if they, a week ago, they're rotating all those receivers, right? Steph Diggs takes the fourth most snaps. It's only 41%. Mac Hollins is somewhere around 50. You go to Douglas, and then you get to Booty. Did they streamline that a little bit and just go, we need, like Henderson, and we need with Pop Douglas or Diggs, the same guys in the field more often, our best guys, because we need this win. Do we know who they are? And if so, well, why not roll with him as much as the heat's going to be a factor in conditioning early in the season? Because again, there is real opportunity there, but that opportunity only comes if they're able to block Miami up, because we can make fun of all the name a Dolphins defensive back, not named Jack Jones or Storm Duck, and good luck. But they have legitimate pass rushing talent up front, and it's mostly on the edges. So when I look at the Patriots' problems, like if this goes off the track Sunday, it's because of Chop Robinson and Jalen Phillips
Yeah.
and, dare we say, old pal Matt Judon.
Bradley Chubb.
Bradley Chubb. Yes, I knew I was missing one. I just
Got a lot.
Two-time Pro Bowler. Yeah.
But yeah, no, to your point about the wide receivers as well, like, yeah, I think that you do. I would personally settle into 3 wide receivers, but I can understand why they don't, because all these guys are basically like the same talent level, other than, I guess, Stephon Diggs. And then if you want to throw in Kayshon Boutte as well. But I do wish they would settle on like a top 3. That wide receiver by the name Richard Johnson of the Lions. Began his career
wait. So this man went through parts of his life where people were just calling him Dick.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Poor guy. Yeah. Okay.
Start off in the USFL, officially listed at 5'7", 182. But yeah, not a lot out there as far as 5'8" wide receivers go. But no, I there's a lot to learn about this team, and there's a lot for this team to figure out moving forward this season. And I think that starts this week, because we might see some different combinations in this game. Like, we already saw them cut DJ James on what was it? Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah.
So like, they're already willing to be like, all right, what we saw during the summer, maybe not what we're seeing now. So now we're going to make some adjustments, make some changes. It doesn't seem like Kyle Williams or Efton Chisholm are going to be a huge part of this game, just because both those guys have been wearing scout team jerseys in practice. But who knows? Maybe we see more of Mac Hollins. Maybe we see more of Stephon Diggs. Maybe, who knows what happens with Kayshon Boutte. I would assume his snaps stay the same, but I do think that we'll see some changes in this game, and as just a reaction to week 1.
So I mentioned the edges. I think you also have another problem at left guard, because Jared Wilson is just going to have a kick me sign in his back for the entire season,
Right.
so long as he's giving up. I had him down for 4 pressures. PFF gave him 6 against Vegas.
Yeah.
And look, he started 1 year in college. He's playing a new position. We can only start citing that for maybe the next couple of weeks before you go, is it just time to put Ben Brown in there or somebody else? Because I understand you want to develop him, and he's more physically gifted than Ben Brown or your other options at left guard. Maybe Caden Wallace factors in. I don't know. But if that play continues at that level, you just are not going to be able to do certain things, including run the ball, which I think we're going to get back to here in a second. Is there any way to help that, understanding the O-line is just going to be an anchor on this offense all year long? And it'll be matchup dependent, but what would you do, if anything, to help him and if need be, Will Campbell, who was better than people thought last weekend?
Well, that's the thing that's tough, is that like, it's hard to help out Jared Wilson, because like, a guy who could help him out is Will Campbell, who might need help himself. So like, I guess you could just kind of, I don't know, get some more help from Garrett Bradbury for Jared Wilson, try to like slide him over on some of these blocks, try to use some double teams with Garrett Bradbury. Obviously that leaves Will Campbell out by himself, but Campbell was certainly better in week 1 than Jared Wilson was. But yeah, I mean, that's another thing that I'm really curious to see, is that if Jared Wilson can settle down a little bit, because like, he had a very strong start to the summer. He looked like he was going to come out of the gates as like a great starter, right away. But then he did even get benched at one point in the summer, or demoted, whatever you want to call it, for Ben Brown. I think there were some injury issues there as well. But maybe that's something that Jared Wilson is still dealing with. So I would not be shocked whatsoever if, probably not this week, but like moving forward, the Patriots wouldn't be shy about saying like, okay, you're still a part of our future, whether that's a guard or center or whatever it is. But right now we want Ben Brown to like, settle down this offensive line a little bit, bring in a veteran who we know what he can do from a pass blocking perspective. And we're not going to just have like a wide open lane for rushers to get through it for Drake May. So that's certainly something to watch in the future. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to happen this week or not, but at least they do have a guy like Ben Brown to fill in if needed.
Yeah, and it's just a matter, again, like this is doing the thing I said in the open we cannot do, which is extrapolate anything from September football. However, understanding how young he is and experienced, including his time in college, it's just hard to imagine that Jared Wilson makes a big leap. So all he needs to do is some improvement, because last Sunday is untenable over a full season. And again, directly affects, you talk about interior pressure. Zach Seiler, longtime interior D lineman for Miami. Yeah. Pretty good. And running the football, where they got stuffed on 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 1 again in the last 5 minutes of the first half, going in that direction, you just can't have it. So who knows what happens Sunday? But to me, again, if I'm Miami, like stunts and games and ensuring that we get a one-on-one with him by just how we use our alignment and leverage those edge rushers, we're obviously going to get extra attention. That is something I'm doing early and often against this O-line, and specifically Wilson.
It is funny with this Dolphins team that, like, obviously they have issues at cornerback, but just looking at the defense in general, like some of the names on their defense, they should not have been as bad as they were in week one. So like there is a possibility that, based on, Zach Seiler and some of those edge rushers and their safeties and everything like that, you could see a different Dolphins team in this game.
So part of the reason that they were that bad, I mean, we can talk about coaching and morale, because it's like ever since minicamp wrap, that felt like the clock has been started on Mike McDaniel.
Right.
And I think Chris Greer has well overstayed his welcome in Miami, or should have, based on his track record as a GM. But the point is, like, vibes have not been good at Miami forever, and they've been signing guys to patch this defense. The reason, though, that they fell behind, in addition to all of that, is because they couldn't control the game early. The Colts want to run the ball. The Colts ran the ball. And so if you're looking for solutions to the Jared Wilson problem and settling May in early and handling the edges for Will Campbell and Morgan Moses against Bradley Chubb and company, it's run the damn football.
Yeah.
But I think there is more than just you have to move people, because they're not talented enough to say, okay, we'll be better than we were last weekend. So what are you doing aside from emphasizing that from a play calling standpoint to make it easier and open wider rushing lanes?
It's tough. I really don't know. I mean, like, obviously, yeah, you have to block better. You have to be better. I think that I personally, I didn't think Ramondre Stevenson looked great in week one, and that just goes beyond the stat line. I thought there were some times they looked a little bit plodding back there. So, as I mentioned it before, but like, I just want to see more of Travion Henderson in this game, because I think that he, like, whether it's obviously his biggest carry was on the fake tush push, but I think that he can get outside on other plays as well, on non-trick plays. Like, he's got the speed to beat guys to the edge. He's got the strength to break through tackles. So I don't know if the run blocking is going to be significantly better in this game, just because we haven't seen it yet. But I do think that you can play to the strengths of your personnel and try to do it that way. I think that using some more play action in this game certainly wouldn't hurt as well, even though the Dolphins might not necessarily need to be overly afraid of the run game. At least using some sort of deception could help as well.
Like Vines, I just reach for my notes, the charting of the offense, which I do every game, and then go follow up and fill in the holes. And I'm looking at specifically the play action the Patriots use from 11 personnel, which I said Monday, and I just can't get enough of this weird stat that probably means nothing. Josh McDaniel's first 13 play calls from 11 personnel were all passes. It's like, I get it to spread grouping.
Yeah.
There are neutral downs. They just didn't throw it. However, the two times that they used play action, they were fairly effective. One was a 5-yard screen, and then another was a 7-yard check down to Ramondre Stevenson. And the reason I jumped to immediately 11 personnel is because of that tendency so far from McDaniels. If you're Miami and you see the Patriots bulking up with two tight ends and their run rate from that grouping a week ago, you're going, okay, of course they want to take it to it. So we can expect run. And you might be like, well, that might make the play action more effective. I don't know. I think a third receiver is going to give them more problems from a pass coverage standpoint than Austin Hooper. All due respect to Austin Hooper. So to me, that's one part is the play action game. I think you also need to involve Drake May a little bit more in the option game. And this is
absolutely
a paradox, because you want to protect May. You've asked May and drilled this into his head privately and publicly. Protect yourself. And yet, as they're going to ask too much of him probably all season because of where they want to go and their goals and aspirations and some of the talent around him, you're going to have to ask him to take some more risks and hopefully be okay. Because there's an old saying, and I think this goes for this Patriots offensive line until they prove otherwise. If you can't block them, read them. So on these option runs, you don't have to worry about an offensive lineman losing a one-on-one matchup, because that's Drake May's responsibility to read him. And if that lineman or linebacker or whomever comes crashing at him, he hands the ball off. If that lineman or linebacker or whatever goes after the running back, he takes it around the corner and goes there. So those elements, in addition to going a little bit more spread, I think will help them, because then you're getting bigger bodies out of the way. In addition to, hey, Mike Onwenu, you're a 340-pound guard. Like, just start moving people. It's not one or the other. But if I have to change something from a coaching standpoint, those are the things I'm thinking about.
I might be crazy. I might be completely off on this, but and I know it's only been 1 week. I'm I'm preparing for the Patriots to not use Drake May as a rushing threat this season, and like I 1000% would. I think that's a major strength of his game, especially right now early in the season. But from everything that Mike Vrabel has said about Drake May protecting himself, most important thing is his availability, all that stuff, combined with the answer that Josh McDaniels gave on Thursday of he was talking about improvements that Drake May could make. Mark Daniels asked Josh McDaniels, like, how do you balance Drake May trying to protect himself versus still being a running threat? And Josh was like, oh, that's actually something he really improved in is protecting himself in that game. And he had 11 yards on 4 carries. And so I don't think they want him to put himself at risk on running plays. We did see one designed run, like an option play from Drake May. So at least they're willing to do that. But I think it's going to be few and far between, at least early in the season, because I really do. It does feel like their priority is to keep Drake May as healthy as possible. So I'm ready to be proven wrong on this one. But like, if we're actually listening to Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels, they want Drake to stay healthy, not get hurt, and protect himself more than they want him to make plays with his legs.
So I think there are two parts of this, right? You have the scramble plays, which you cannot predict. And that's where you have to tell him, hey, when things get haywire, and I know you're going to your default setting of trying to make a play, that's when you need to think, oh, wait, I should probably slide here or just throw it away. Because those are the plays you're not able to protect yourself as much because it's just a free for all. It's backyard football as soon as the play design is dead or stopped or covered or whatever. And he has to do something off schedule. The option plays, though, I think it's easier to do this. And he's a completely different athlete. He's a one-on-one. He's a 2-time MVP. But Lamar Jackson is kind of a slight guy, has even lost weight. And the way that he's able to protect himself is by being the one in control of where that football goes. And that, after what happens, if he does keep it, is where the sliding component comes in. So I think what you have to do, and this might even help him settle in, is involve these option runs early. If it does become a danger, okay, F it, we tried. But if it works, then that at least imposes or throws the threat out of him running or doing these options to a Miami defense that then has to account for one more thing. Because I do think there's a difference. Like you heard me muttering, which I have never done in 7+ years in the press box. Because I whatever happens, happens, okay? Just like get rid of the ball. Just throw it away. Throw it away. Throw it away. And instead, he's taking a 1-yard loss by the sideline or risking a hit from Max Crosby. And that's the stuff to me where I think when they're talking about protecting himself, that's where it applies more, at least the way I hear it.
It's certainly possible, but he also just looked so tentative as a runner in week 1 that I think that they might be in his head about it. I mean, that's just the way that it looked. That's the way that they're talking about it. I think there's ways to protect yourself as a scrambler that we see with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, where like I don't know, like it's annoying to watch, I'm sure, as like an opponent of Patrick Mahomes, but like he's mastered the art of picking up extra yards even after looking like he's going to go down. And like he never takes a big hit in those situations. He did actually lower his shoulder in week 1, which was obviously a surprise and something that I wouldn't necessarily advise Drake May to do, but like those guys run really smart. And Drake May was extremely effective as a runner last year, but he wasn't doing some of like the deception stuff that those other guys do that winds up actually really protecting them.
Yeah. All right. How do you expect this to play out?
I actually do think the offense is going to look better in this game. I don't like Josh McDaniels isn't the type of coach who usually abandons the run game like he did. And Mike Vrabel said it was because, it just wasn't effective in the first half. I don't love that reasoning. I think that you still want to at least like see how it looks in the second half. So I think that McDaniels will be committed to it. I think Trevion Henderson will play better in this game. I'm not sure about Drake May. I mean, we'll just have to see. I think that you're kind of at the point now where you can assume that he's going to turn the ball over at least once in a game. He just needs some bigger plays around that, and he needs to take over the game. And those are things that we just haven't necessarily seen from him. So I think the offense will look better. I don't know if it's going to be where people were expecting it to be, though, still.
Okay. I think they have a slow start, and that's despite the theme of the week, according to Drake, who, look, maybe he's just annoyed at us for asking questions after losses and what you need to improve. And I would totally get that.
Yeah.
But for a guy who seems a little ticked off this week or distant. I think he will do his best to come out and have a sharper start, a calmer one, but you're on the road for the first time against a desperate team that is going to come out and try to take his head off. I just don't think that's a recipe for them going down the field, particularly running the ball with a young quarterback whose job is to settle in. However, I do think they will find avenues to run the ball for the reasons we just discussed. More touches for Henderson, going spread personnel. You can involve some more RPO actions. Keep it simple, keep it quick. Do things that May has used to.
Yeah.
And eventually they'll do enough to score enough points to win the game. We'll do game picks at the end. One last note on May. There are some people in the building who see him as a little bit closer to a rookie than a year two player, which I only knew as of late last night. And I think that's really important context for how they're treating him and seeing him. We all know he needs to play better, but you even heard it from Josh McDaniels yesterday, right? He's a young quarterback. He's a young quarterback. It's year one of the system. I don't know where I personally land on that. Like I've called this year point 1.5 of the rebuild. Maybe that's the best way to see Drake May, but he's not going to be extended the excuses publicly that they might internally. So I think that's just the context of where they just say, hey, look, he's not played a lot of football. This even goes to UNC. It's going to take some time for their comments. And when his play is what it is, his response and his reaction afterward is going to matter a lot. And I wrote about this week, and I don't know what that's going to be when he has to struggle and will. But that's how they view them. And I think it's something important to note as we kind of go forward.
It's interesting. I don't love it, but I think that it does show you the patience that they're willing to give him. And I think that everyone should give him that patience. Like, it does not make sense, obviously, to give up on Drake May in year two. Like, just simply based on what we saw out of Josh Allen in his career, like year three is where he took a serious leap. So like the Patriots need to be committed to Drake May. The Patriots are committed to Drake May. I think that's telling that they're like, all right, yeah, this is more like a rookie season for him than a second year. And it makes sense since he's in a new offense and he only started 11 games last year or whatever it is. But that, I don't know. It's not what the expectation was that he was going to come in as this new quarterback this year.
Yeah, we expected a little bit better than what we've seen.
Yeah.
And that goes for all of camp. It goes for the preseason. It goes for certainly last Sunday. Okay. You know that there are a lot of Patriots fans in South Florida. And I've come to learn this when we're down there for games, and sometimes the whole freaking sideline is just like navy blue. But if you live in South Florida or you live anywhere and you want to go to a Patriots game this season, I got to tell you, you cannot come hang out with Doug and I in the press box, but you can absolutely get a ticket for the lowest price you will find anywhere if you go to Game Time. I've told you I've used Game Time before to go to Red Sox games, basketball games, wherever I need to go. I'm not hopping around for different sites and different prices because Game Time has a lowest price guarantee where if you find a lower price elsewhere for a ticket, they give you 110% of the difference back credited to you, but that's only at Game Time. Meanwhile, you can look at your seat views. You can look at zone deals or sometimes random deals that pop up and you go, I don't know how this ticket is this cheap. But again, this is only at Game Time. So if you want to enjoy all these features or you want to go to Sunday's game, you want to go to any game, download the Game Time app today and take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Game Time. Create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms will apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. Patriots defense.
You also might not want to hang out with us in the press box because this isn't one of the better press boxes in the NFL. Just as an aside.
Yeah, extremely tight. All they did was take the old Pro Player Stadium where the Marlins used to play as well and just kind of rearrange the press box behind home plate and add some barriers and tight windows. And no one likes the media complaining. I'll also say this. I'm very quiet.
It's a far view from the field, too. And depending on where you are in the press box, it's either like 57 degrees or like 75 degrees. So just saying.
And we're not, I don't talk.
Not complaining.
No. But yeah, but it's not as fun. Plus, I don't know what it is about South Florida. Like, I remember watching Heat games and they're in the finals and you could see empty seats into the early second quarter. Like, people have good teams and seemingly enjoy sports. Why is it only like occasional big hurricane games that you fill the stadium? Anyway, something for them to figure out. Patriots need to figure out how they can take away Tua's first read. We all know he's 7-0 against the Patriots. And it's one of the more odd statistics I think you'll find anywhere in recent Patriots history because A, you just think you would beat a fairly average quarterback once.
Yeah.
But you would also think that with his scoring average in those games, which is in the low 20s for Miami, that's not good enough to be undefeated. Lo and behold, it is. So that's where I start with this game. How can they take away his first read? because we even heard from Colts defenders, as we heard from J.C. Jackson 4 years ago. Tua doesn't have his first read. He panics.
Right. Yeah, no, that's obviously a huge key in this game for the Patriots defense. And I know that the numbers aren't there for Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill as far as big plays go over the last year and a half, whatever it is. But that's still a concern for me in this game when you've got Jalen Hawkins and Craig Woodson back at safety. And I thought that Craig Woodson played pretty well in his NFL debut, but still, he's a rookie. He's a rookie, and we've seen Kyle Duggar mess up at times against Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. We've seen Jabril Peppers. We've seen very good Patriots safeties screw up and let those 4-3 guys get behind them. And with Jalen Hawkins, he had some mistakes in week one. He had the 15-yard penalty. He had the touchdown allowed to Trey Tucker, and that was kind of like a slip from Jalen Hawkins on that play that just let Trey Tucker get behind him. And if you slip against Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle, you could be allowing an 80-yard touchdown. And those guys are the last line of defense. Like I said, I know that Tyreek Hill has not been a big play threat over the last year. Jalen Waddle's average yards per catch has gone down every single year since 2022 to the point where he only was averaging 7.5 yards per catch last week, but his speed is still there. And that does concern me a little bit. I would not be surprised. They kept talking about explosive plays after the Raiders game. This is a game where you really need to prevent those X plays. Otherwise, the Dolphins could run away with this one.
Yeah, and the other things you're doing, keeping a lid on Hill and Waddle, easier said than done. But this is an offense that is as true to its identity and what it does week to week as any in the league. The game plan's drawn up this week by the Patriots, last week by the Colts, next week by whomever they play. I think they host the Jets. The Dolphins do sometime soon. Are all the same. You need to cover that first read. You need to get to certain landmarks where you know that they love these little stop routes between the hashes and the numbers. And you can't get out leveraged by all of this motion because the motion sends those two receivers flying up the field with a head full of steam. Those are the same things they need to do. And I think there are certain pressure elements they'll be able to take from Lou Anarumo, now the Colts defensive coordinator, that they can use and incorporate, because obviously they showed they were willing to send any kind of blitz at any time and do whatever. And sometimes it worked out great. They sacked Geno Smith a lot. Other times, as I said in the open, it did not. Are there any other problems here? Granted, they're big and obvious ones. I think the threat of a Miami run game, and we talk about grain script, who gets ahead first, gets to run the ball a little bit more than the team that falls behind. You can't let them get a steady run game. And the offensive line isn't great, but it's still probably a little bit better than what the Patriots have, no?
I don't know. I mean,
they're also banged up this week, I should say.
Yeah, they've got two fill-ins. They've got Keon Smith at right guard. They've got Larry Borum at right tackle. They could be in kind of rough shape in this game. You've got Cole Strange potentially in the mix as a guard. I think that is a way that you can actually kind of beat the Dolphins in this game, not only from a pressure perspective, but also maybe overwhelming them in the run game. But obviously they did a great job stopping Ashton Genty in week one, despite the loss. Devon Achane is a different type of running back, though. When I go back to the big plays, this is an aggressive Patriots defense where guys are getting upfield, and it worked well against Ashton Genty. And if you can bring down Devon Achane in the backfield, obviously that's huge. But also, if you're overextending yourself and Achane gets some room, that's another one that could very easily become a 70 or 80-yard carry for a touchdown. So I don't think they're suddenly going to become this disciplined defense in this game, but they better be making plays. Otherwise, once again, the Dolphins could control this game.
And Vrabel talked about it on Wednesday when he said, look, you have to do one of two things against them. You have to turn the ball over, which the Colts did on that second drive. Had two picks for the game. And again, the Colts were just in control from the get-go. Or you have to make them earn it. Either way is saying we're not giving up explosive plays, either because we're taking the ball away or these are these long drives. Miami has shown against the Patriots' old scheme, and I think this new one, frankly, is much better suited to give them problems, meaning Miami, than what Belichick and Mayo were running. But the point is, they've shown a patience and an ability to do that. I would not count on that again. The issues I would also have, if I'm the Patriots, okay, where are they going to look at us? Christian Ellis and Robert Spillane were horrendous in coverage. I mean, they were horrendous, period. Both had 3 missed tackles. Achane scored their only touchdown on an 11-yard catch in Indianapolis. Anytime I can get Achane against one of them, boom, we're going to try it. Same with Jalen Hawkins and Craig Woodson. Mm-hmm. What are the Patriots' counters to get ahead of that? when they go in motion and we know this scheme is going to let those safeties play man-to-man coverage, and you go, I don't want to be in that kind of world. If we're living it, do you back off and play more zone? I think they will blitz less is where I go with this.
Yeah.
But I mentioned the run game. It's a good point with all those backup offensive linemen. Probably not as big of a concern. But the extension of the run game are those throws to running backs and your slot receivers that are going to put the Patriots safeties and linebackers in a little bit of a bind. That you need to avoid and get out of somehow.
Yeah, I think you probably do try to use more zone coverage. Like, yeah, the Patriots were very heavy in man in week 1, but beyond that, they were in cover 3 a lot. I think maybe you see more cover 3 looks in this game just because, like, that would be the other thing they were leaning pretty heavily on because, yeah, absolutely. You don't want to see a linebacker on Devon Achane. And with Christian Gonzalez likely out for this game right now, it's Friday. We'll see if he's at practice, but it seems very unlikely that Christian Gonzalez is going to play. Like, they're pretty light on cornerbacks even right now. I think they only have 3 healthy cornerbacks on their roster in Alex Austin, Carlton Davis, and Marcus Jones. They'll probably bring up Corey Ballantyne again this week.
Charles Woods is around from the Rams.
Charles Woods, good call. Yeah, Charles Woods. I forgot about Charles Woods. Charles Woods is around. So I don't know. I think it could be using more of those safeties, using maybe more of those slot cornerbacks on the field, especially if the Dolphins get behind and they can't run the ball a lot. I mean, last week we saw Del Pettis kind of shadowing Brock Bowers in dime coverage. Maybe you see some of that. I'm not saying he's going to be shadowing Devon Achane out there or anything like that, but he was a pretty effective defender in limited use. So, I think that there's ways around getting Achane on one of those linebackers. And it could even be that we just don't see a ton of 2 linebacker sets in this game as well, because there were times where Spillane was the only linebacker on the field and you had kind of like a safety in a linebacker role, but maybe we see some more of that this week too.
Yeah, he played 100% of the snaps. Christian Ellis was on track to do that until he left in the fourth quarter, which he popped up in the injury report this week. So it looks like a shoulder probably kept him out. But Jack Gibbons is on the field, and I wasn't sure because Christian Ellis's play would have warranted maybe benching that quickly,
Right.
but it's week 1. I think it's a good call. The personnel piece is going to be interesting given their lack of corner depth. Here's the big plus, though, if you're the Patriots. We talk about, where are their problems and what could happen and this and that. Christian Barmore and Milt Williams should kick some serious ass in this game.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not just because they are professional ass kickers for the New England Patriots. It's that the offensive line across from them is just begging to be moved backwards. Milton Williams should have another sack in this game. Christian Barmore should have several pressures in a way he did not against Las Vegas. You want to screw up any offense, it's with interior pressure. And the way that the Patriots move them around the defensive front, again, leveraging, they're going to get extra attention here. Or Milton Williams sometimes is not on the edge, but he's playing kind of a 5 or a 6 technique. Put him across from Larry Bourne. See what happens. Because it's probably not going to be great for Miami. Those two, I think, so long as they're healthy and available and can play the same amount of snaps they did last week, should feast on this offensive line.
Yeah, no, they absolutely should. Those guys, Harold Landry had a huge game, obviously. I'd like to see more out of Caleb Von Chason in this game. We'll see what Keon White can do since he's been out with an illness. Usually an illness doesn't keep a guy up, but if Keon White can't play in this game, they were using him rotationally in week 1. I guess that would mean, I don't know, Anthony Jennings would probably be active, but maybe more of Elijah Ponder in this game as well. So you get a little light at the edge. But no, the defensive line should feast against the Dolphins' offensive line, and that should be a major mismatch. I don't think they should have to use as much blitzing. I haven't even mentioned that obviously Terrell Williams probably not going to be the defensive play caller in this game. So we'll see how things are different. We'll find out today whether Mike Vrabel or Zach Kerr is going to be calling defensive plays. But obviously that could switch up and change some of their defensive identity as well.
All right. All that said, how does this side of the ball go?
I mean, on paper, I think they should do pretty well. I think they should continue to limit the run. I don't think that Genty and Achane are that significantly different as running backs. Dolphins offensive line, I think, is in worse shape than the Raiders was in week 1. I think the Patriots should be able to continue to generate pressure. I worry a lot about the big plays. So I think you'll probably see like 1 or 2 scores off of big plays. but those just have to not come early in the game because you don't want the Dolphins to be in control. So I personally do think the defense is going to be playing better in this game. I don't think they were the biggest weakness in week one either. And I think they could borrow from some of the things that the Colts did in week one to limit the Dolphins. So I'm cautiously optimistic about the defensive performance in this game.
I agree. I do think Miami gets better of them in the way I think the Patriots offense will be slow. I don't think the Dolphins will start slowly. I think they will be at home. They'll be desperate. All the energy, the plan, they've run the same playbook now for years. And there's just an acclimation period, whether it's the heat or to this style of offense that I think will take a little bit for the Patriots to get adjusted. So they'll fall behind early. However, those advantages and playing the same landmarks and matchups over and over again should yield a net positive for the Patriots in this matchup. Like there are things I just don't think the Dolphins are going to be able to get around. And the Patriots have more levers that they can pull, whether it's too high structure or certain rotations or double teams to get a handle on Hill and Waddle, especially because Hill is not the same player. So in the end, I do think the Patriots defense has a similar performance to last Sunday, probably a little bit better tackling, but it's more, okay, they got to prove it over time and stay steady. As much as we've heard this week from Mike Vrabel, is like things are going to go badly. We need to have a good reaction to them. This side of the ball is better suited to do that, and I think they will. Any leftover thoughts before we make game picks?
Yeah, I mean, just like I think my biggest leftover thought is just like how many former Patriots are on this team, which isn't necessarily something that you expect with Mike McDaniel as head coach. Like when Brian Flores was the head coach, sure, but it's like it's pretty wild how many former Patriots are on this team. Like their punter and their long snapper. You've even got like Yodny Kajust somehow still on injured reserve on that team. I can't believe that he's even still in the league, but it's just like pretty crazy to look through this team. And Jermichael Hasty's on there, Matthew Judon, Jack Jones, Cole Strange, as I mentioned before. So we saw it last week with the Raiders and the Patriots having like a family reunion out in the field before the game. I think it's going to be pretty similar this week in Miami.
Yodny Kajust, man.
Although there might not be anyone left on the Patriots roster who even played with Yodny Kajust. I guess Owenu?
No. He was a third rounder in 2019, and Onwenu was sixth rounder in 2020.
Kajust was still on the team in 2022, though.
Oh, I see. You're just overlapping in terms of how he stayed. Yeah, sorry. There's no one longer tenured on the Patriots. Yeah, that's correct. Plus Mondre, Barmore, a bunch of guys. Right. So now that you mention it, this is my leftover thought. Jack Jones blew the Patriots' comeback attempt in 2023 when they blew a motion where they had the same adjustment and blew it at the end of that game and ended up costing them. And they lost by, might have been 10 points. But either way, he is a guy who I could see having a pick six of Drake May.
Oh, yeah.
Or absolutely getting roasted over and over again by Stephon Diggs. And I don't really want to talk more about Jack Jones except for to acknowledge the character. This is a guy who someone tried to remount his corners coach at halftime of that game in Germany when they played the Colts and lost, and then was cut the next day, basically when they flew back home. And we know all the off-field stuff. But now that he's starting for the Dolphins, who have no other corners to turn to, you talk about ex-Patriots just being on the team, he could play a very central role in how this goes. And that means both potentially very, very good for the Patriots or the way that he gambles very, very badly. Was he the one who said it's disrespectful to throw an out route?
Yeah.
Do you remember that in Green Bay?
I mean, he's an interesting player. Like he's obviously talented, but just simply based on the fact that like he was cut by the Raiders, signed by the Dolphins. Now he's starting. Like he started last year for the Raiders after being, cut by the Patriots in whatever year that was, 2023.
He's just an asshat.
He's just the personality and the character issues are obvious. So if at some point he can turn stuff around, I think he could be a really good player. But no, I'm with you. Like it's entirely possible that he's going to jump her out and return it for 60 yards for a touchdown. Like that's another sort of big play threat. But as you mentioned, like they also could roast him out there. He could get bodied by Kayshon Boutte on the outside. He could wind up getting beat by Stephon Diggs, or he could make the Patriots pay.
All right, who wins and why?
I think the Patriots win this one, but I'm not very confident in it. I think that there's just too many issues with the Dolphins right now. Like we said, they had the players only meeting already. Who knows what happens with Mike McDaniel this season? feels like things have already gone really south with the Dolphins, and I don't see them pulling it back together in week 2. I think the Patriots will be better, but I almost feel like this is more like a Dolphins loss than a Patriots win.
I like that framing. I've gone back and forth all week, which is to say, after the most unpredictable season opener in recent Patriots memory, this is also one of the more unpredictable week 2
Yeah.
games I can think of because of everything we just outlined. And the Patriots' problems, in my opinion, are too big and too severe. We talked about Jared Wilson, just the inability to run the ball. For me to bank on them winning by double digits this early in the season,
Yeah.
where they're still trying to find their footing and figure out sometimes some lineup changes. But if I'm going to pick the Patriots in a close win, which I'm about to, you got to go dramatic. I said the Dolphins will start fast. The Patriots will not. That I feel more confident in about anything. But over time and the way they have this comeback, I think Andy Borregales, who famously kicked in this same stadium for the Hurricanes and missed a 40-yarder, which took 2 questions to get out of Jeremy Springer. Hey, what happened there the other day when we talked to him? Kicks a game-winning field goal in the last minute. That's where I land on this. I think it's Patriots 20, Dolphins 19 in a game that no one else in the country wants to watch outside of South Florida and New England. But for the Patriots, they get to take a deep breath after this one.
I'll go 23-20 in this one.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Very good.
So pretty similar, but yeah, because I think the Dolphins are able to score on them much better than they could against Colts last week.
Yes. Yeah. And then it comes down to the red zone and, who knows. But all right, should be a fun one. You and I are flying down tomorrow. So
Yep.
I will see you also here in a couple of hours down at Gillette to hear from Mike Vrabel. Thank you, as always, for coming on. And here comes Harold Landry. All right, as promised, Harold Landry on the Pats Interference Podcast, another 4-minute drill where the only rule is you can't treat it like a regular 4-minute drill and trying to run out the clock. We're getting as many questions in here, football and non-football, with Harold, get to know him, and we'll start the clock right now. All right, Harold, you were on pace to break the NFL's single-season sack record by early November. How do you plan to celebrate?
Honestly, man, I'm just taking it one week at a time. But, I mean, shoot, if that was to happen, I'm definitely taking a fat, long vacation with the fam, a couple of my boys. But, nah, we just taking it one week at a time, man.
Bottle of wine at least that night, steak, something?
Oh, I'm for sure splurging. Like, I got a crazy sweet tooth, so there's going to be a hella dessert in the room. And we're going to have a good time.
All right, book it, November 10th. You get an off day completely to yourself. No family around, no obligations. What is Harold Landry doing with his off day?
Probably just chilling. I ain't going to lie. Like, honestly, on my off days right now, it's still heavy football, heavy preparation. But if I couldn't do football,
yep,
and I'm not with my family,
no, it's just you in the house.
yeah, chilling. Don't be honest.
All right, TV feed up.
I'm literally football or family. Like, that's literally my life.
All right. Speaking of football, you're a Patriots captain. What's a perk, a nice part of being a Patriots captain?
Honestly, just an honor, like being a captain. Like,
yeah, but like during the week, what do you get to do that non-captains don't?
We get to meet and talk about things that need to be addressed or things we can improve on. But nah, honestly, bro, the perk is just being a captain. Like, I'm extremely blessed and grateful to be a captain, and that's the perk to me.
Sounds like it's joining the 4-minute drill. That's the biggest perk of being a captain. What's the best trash talk you've ever heard in the league?
Honestly, probably the best trash talk is probably when I heard somebody say to somebody, "I don't even know who you are. What's your name? We don't know who you are." That's probably the best.
Was that directed at you or somebody else?
Nah, it was at somebody else, but I just thought it was so crazy disrespectful.
Favorite Mike Vrabel saying?
Do I need to be the get-back coach at practice if players are too close to the field and not backed up enough on the sideline? He says something like that. I think that's pretty funny.
Yeah, he's got some trash talk too. We've heard rumors that he'll go back and forth, chirp a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Tell us about a bad date that you had and how you handled it.
A bad date. A bad date. I ain't never really had a bad date.
Oh,
but
come on, man.
I would say honestly, when I first was with my when I first started dating my wife though in college, we did go to one of the restaurants that was near BC. We went in, ate the bread, And I think I looked at the prices and I was just like, nah, we need to leave. I think, but that's probably the craziest thing. I ain't really had no.
What'd she do? I mean, obviously she stuck around, so things are okay now. But how would she handle that?
Nah, she's ride or die. She thought it was funny. We just went to another place.
Yeah. Give us an underrated edge rusher elsewhere in the NFL, not on the team, but some guy you look and be like, he's better than people think.
Honestly, I would just say rusher in general is probably my old teammate, Danico Autry.
Yeah, that's a great
I
one.
think he's super underrated.
Do you like that I just tried to affirm you as if I'm more of an expert by saying that's a great one? All right, we got time for 2 more. How romantic is Harold Landry? Brought up your wife?
Romantic. I would say I'm way more romantic in the off season than I am in season.
Okay. What's that look like? What's that sound like?
Date night. Shit. Yeah, probably just date night. Go on a vacation somewhere. Honestly, I just feel like our everyday life low key feels like a date night, to be honest.
Wow.
Like, just chilling in a bed. Just chilling in a bed with her, watching our shows while, I'm on my iPad preparing, or she's talking about something that happened during the day. Like, honestly, our everyday life, I feel like it's a date night.
Wow. All right. What a life. I love how we've gotten several times like close to something you don't want to say and you have to scurry backwards. This is like my man's almost offsides and then he gets back in time before they pull the snap. All right. We're over 4 minutes, but I got to end on this question every time. Give me a teammate I should talk to next and one question I should ask them.
I would say teammate. I would say shit. Let me think. I would say
This is coming from the captain now. So this answer has a lot of weight. That's why he's taking so much time. It's serious business.
shit. I would say be more.
Okay.
And I would say just ask him what's the life like in a day? What's a day in the life of Be More?
Because you're curious?
Yes.
All right, Christian Barmer. This is Harold Landry, Patriots captain, romantic. It's a day every day in the Landry household. Appreciate you taking the time, man.